Hello and welcome to the Spirit Hunters podcast. I'm Lance White Eagle, and joining me today are
Hunter White Eagle.
Chrissy Holtz.
Lisa White Eagle.
The monkey.
Shane White Eagle.
And today we thought we'd take this opportunity to talk about our personal kind of supernatural experiences, because often we get asked how or why we got involved in pursuing ghost hunting and paranormal things. So we're all going to tell some of our personal stories from before we became the Spirit Hunters group.
Right.
And thought we'd start off by going through and talking about the first supernatural or kind of ghost phenomenon that we could remember. So you want to start us off, Hunter?
The first one, I guess, was when we were, how old were we over at Maple? Probably 10-ish. We were downstairs in our living room, and we had those, like, slide-in pocket doors, you know, that separate the living room from the foyer room.
Oh, yeah.
There was an elderly gentleman and a younger kid, probably like 4 or 5, that would, you know, reside there. The first time I ever remember experiencing anything was seeing this little boy, you know, so our stairs would split off, and around the railing down here, you looked right into the living room. First time I remember, this little boy was just peeking out, you know, looking down the living room towards me, and as soon as I made eye contact with it, it kind of popped back, and then you could slowly see him slowly peek out again, and then, you know, it was gone. That was my first
That's
ever.
the first one you remember?
Yeah.
We'll go back and talk a little more about Maple Street in a bit. But Christine?
I'd say the first one for me was when I was living in Erie. I was probably, I want to say 5 years old, and I was laying in my bed. My mom and dad were in bed in the bedroom next to me, and my brother was down the hall in bed. And I remember seeing this glowing, it almost looked like a sheet or something. I mean, it's kind of, it sounds like a stereotypical Halloween ghost, but I saw this like floating, it was just this glowing like entity going down the hallway. And I remember sitting there for a second thinking like, okay, what is this? And I got up out of bed. My mom and dad were both fast asleep. My brother was fast asleep, so there was nothing else. It wasn't an animal or anything. So
Something unexplained.
yes.
Well, the first physical thing that I remember, I was older. I mean, there was previous ones I don't remember, but when I was 12, we were moving into a new house, and I'm sitting in the living room on this great big huge wingback chair, had my headphones on, you know, 80s, and I had
New Kids on the Block.
yeah, something kept tapping my shoulder. So I ignored it, thinking, you know, it's my sister or my brother or whatever. And the more I ignored it, the harder the taps came. And so, I don't know, ignored it like 3 times or so. And then the last time I thought, okay, well, you know, I'll whip around and get them. Except for I whipped around and there's nobody there. So then I get up and, of course, you know, my mom's like, oh, no, they're not. Nobody was in there. It's just you. So that's the first.
That's pretty cool.
First, so I remember one when I was younger, but I don't know, it's hard to explain, so I'll do the second one. I remember, I guess. We live in an apartment, and at the end of my bed, there was a closet, and I always have it full of stuff, but one night, I wake up and there's like green, like mist, like just in front of the closet, like standing there. Scared me. I wouldn't go back in my room for a couple days. But I also had like right in front of the closet, there's like pictures on the walls and stuff, and all the pictures like up higher than I would be able to grab. Looked like they got like something like stuck its hand out of the closet and like kind of like ripped them apart. They like claw marks kind of going through them. That's the first one I really remember like pretty well.
Well, yeah.
I had multiple experiences when I was young. Lots of little things, but the first one, I think that ever really scared me I was about 5. I was in the bunk bed. I was on the bottom, and I saw what I thought was a friend of my father's coming into the room. A big black shadow figure. And I pretended like I was asleep. It was late. I had a hard time sleeping a lot when I was a kid. And it said, I know you know I'm here. I can see you, and I'm going to kill you. And scared the pee out of me.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably the first time I ever saw a man form. I saw other things that were different.
Lance?
Oh, the first I can probably remember is at our house in Virginia. And I remember being in my room, which was directly across from the bathroom. And our dad was not the handiest guy in the world, you know, very intelligent, very good at a lot of things, but not when it came to fixing stuff. So my room was directly across from the bathroom. And the bathroom light hadn't worked since, like, I could remember. And Dad was, I'm going to fix it. He is always in the process of fixing it. And I remember laying in bed and then watching, like, the bathroom light, like, turn on and turn off and turn on and turn off. That didn't function.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even a light bulb in there. You know, but, like, just the ceiling would just, like, illuminate and go dark. And illuminate and go dark. And we'd also hear drumming in the kitchen a lot.
I heard that a lot when I was a kid, before you were even born.
Yeah.
I thought it was little people because I could see little people.
Yeah.
under
I
the
don't think
kitchen
necessarily a
table all the time.
ghost, but yeah, we could hear drumming. You know,
That's
just coming
still
from the
pretty
kitchen.
strange,
Just,
yeah.
you know, and so that's the first I can remember is just, you know, just being at home and just like, just bathroom light that's not there, turn it on and off as I'm sitting there in my little Ninja Turtle bed, like. I'm not gonna pee today. You know?
I'll hold it till the
I'll
morning.
hold it forever.
Just turn the light on so you can see when you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. They're just being helpful.
Yeah.
So, Huntman, you mentioned Maple Street, which is here in Olean, New York, and I think a lot of us probably have a story at Maple Street.
Pretty active place.
So, yeah, we could start with that if you and Lise want to talk about when you guys moved in, or.
Well, we knew from the beginning because we started working on the place, fixing it up, painting all the inside of the house.
I remember that.
Wasn't a bad place, but it needed some updating. We got creepy feelings when we'd be working there midnight before we actually moved in. And we heard noises and stuff like that, but nothing to, make us run for the doors. But a lot of stuff happened after that. Like I said before in other podcasts, we kind of adapt to those kinds of things. So, but yeah, you want to tell one of the stories from Maple Street?
Okay, so I remember the first time I saw the lady of the house. She was dressed in like, I don't know, colonial style clothes, I guess. Mm-hmm. She had like this white ribbon collar on. She had on this big blue ruffly dress that kind of like you had the hoop on underneath. She had blonde hair. It was really wispy, pulled up into like a bun, and she came down the stairs that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Just came slowly down the stairs, her hand on the handrail, just stops in the middle of the stairs, looks around, smiles, and off she goes.
Huh. I'd never even heard that one before.
No, me neither.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I believe you're probably the only one that actually saw the woman. The rest of us saw the little boy and the old man quite often.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Lisa was probably the only one that I can remember that actually saw the woman.
We've heard the old man, I think, a lot more than anything.
Yeah, so the old man. Well, yeah, we can talk about that too. Go ahead.
I don't really know. I don't have too much. I was pretty young, but just there was times where you were staying with us at the time, and my room was right beside your staircase.
Going up to the third floor, yeah.
And now we know that it wasn't actually you, but you had these big old black steel-toed boots that boom, boom, all the way up these stairs, you know,
Hardwood
old
stairs, no carpet.
100-plus-year-old
No runners.
stairs, you know. Turns out it wasn't actually you all those times. It was, you know, that guy who loved going up those stairs.
Well,
But
the first time I stayed in the attic, I was just visiting, and you guys hadn't been up there for some reason. And
Code and I were up there. for a
yeah,
good while.
and I was asleep, and like where my head was faced the window, and the street light was out the window.
Yeah.
And so I woke up, and I thought it was Shane at first, standing at the end of the bed, like leaning over the bed, looking at me. And then I was like, gonna say like, "What the hell, man? Like, why you watching me sleep? Like, that's creepy." Like,
Yeah.
and then I noticed, like,
That's-
he was tall, and you could still see the street light through him. So I was like, yeah, I don't
That's not my
I
brother.
don't think that's Shane. But he wasn't like menacing. It was
Yeah.
more like he's like,
Checking you out kind of thing.
you know, like, who's this? Like, why
Yeah.
why are you in my space?
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So I just try to like I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm just gonna ignore you. Like, you know. But yeah, you'd hear him. You could hear him when I was there. Like, start on the ground floor, and you'd hear him come all the way up to the second floor, walk over to the attic, open the attic door, and then pop, 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 like walk up the attic stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was not ever trying to be quiet.
No.
There'd be times that you were at work, I was listening, sounded like you got home because you hear that clunk, 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 clunk all the way up the steps. I'd say, "How's work?" And you didn't answer. I'd get up, you weren't home yet, and everybody else is asleep. It's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, I would hear it too.
Yep,
And I'd be like, oh, Lancey's home.
yep. And
Nope.
No, he's not.
Sure
It was
was
hard
not.
consoling the children. We had, at that time, 5 children. We have 6 now. And, you know, when they would hear this, we were always like, well, you know, it's just, you know, guy lives here. It's his place, too. You know, what we didn't tell the kids is the neighbor did tell us that a male, he was about 68, 70 years old, something like that, passed away in that house of a heart attack. You know, one of the previous owners. And I guess he just stayed there.
Now, if I recall correctly, didn't we find when you guys were first moving in, like he was a factory worker, right? Wasn't some of his stuff still in the attic?
Yeah, something. We did find some
Yeah.
stuff, and he had. We got this feeling when we moved into the house. There was an old workstation in the basement, and it had a really weird vibe about it. So I had everybody just leave it. We used the other 3/4 of the basement. We left that for him because it was his space. We felt that from the beginning, and it was, you know, verified more as we, you know, stayed there. That place, and before, you know, Lance came, the attic was his 2 places. He avoided the rest of us. Most of our encounters with that guy was when we were in one of his spaces.
Mm-hmm.
The little boy, he came right into, you know, downstairs in the living room. The only other time I had an experience with the old man, and at least I think it was the old man, I worked late. The only time I had a chance to read was late at night when all the kids were asleep. So I had this leather chair, had a little light coming over, and I was reading a book. And we had pocket doors all in that house. And the pocket doors started to rattle. And I looked around, you know, I thought maybe somebody got up, you know, who knows. Nobody's around. So I start reading again, it starts rattling again. I started to ignore it. It started rattling so hard the whole walls were shaking. And I lost my temper and I said, "Knock that shit off!" Excuse me.
Language.
And it stopped. But it, you know, it took 20 minutes of door rattling before I got to that point. But we've had other experiences there.
Yeah. Do you have anything you can recall at Maple Street, Monk?
I don't think so. I think I tried to ignore a lot of stuff that went on there. I know a few times, you know, we did sleep downstairs, but I'd always shut the doors.
The pocket
to window.
doors.
Yeah, the pocket doors, so I wouldn't see out of there. I slept with lights on all the time there. I used to have them on like all night.
Yeah.
So did my sister. She
Yeah.
hated spending the night there.
I I didn't mind sleeping up in the attic though. That's the only thing, like, because I slept up in the attic a bunch. I didn't mind sleeping up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know. Down on the first floor, I didn't like sleeping down there. But
Yeah.
We had other things happen too. The faucets were turned on all the time, and it was annoying because sometimes that's water going down the drain. Usually when we said please stop doing that, it would stop happening. Almost like a kid, being annoying. We had a little curtain from the kitchen to the pantry, large pantry. It was a lace curtain, and the bottom of it was like somebody was holding it, and it would flip back and forth like this. At one point, my mother went in there to get something and walked into something hard, about knocked her backwards.
Yeah, well, it was so solid that she actually thought she ran into somebody in the house. So she said, "Oh, excuse me," and it was like, "Oh, wait, hold on."
But I've seen the little boy too. Little boy, about 3 years old, curly, cute little curly hair. You know, he would look. He's very shy. If you said something to him, he'd run away. You know, but. We've all seen him, I think.
I never saw him.
You never saw the
I never saw the little boy. I heard you guys talk about him, and I felt him, but I've never seen him. And when I say I felt him, there was one time I had woke up in the middle of the night or early morning or something, and my arm was hanging off the bed, and I could feel a little hand.
Oh.
A little hand was holding my hand, and I thought maybe it was like Aiden or something, but then when I rolled over, there was nobody there. But I could feel a little hand in my hand.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I lived there about a year.
More than that.
I think. No, I think about a year. I never saw or anything from the little boy. I just hear the guy just clomping up and down the stairs, and just an old guy just agitated, like these freaking kids.
Yeah.
Up all night in my space.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we've had some other ones at other places.
Yeah, but we probably should let some of the other guys tell some of their other stories. And
a story you'd like to share with us, Christine?
I don't know, which one do you think is more interesting?
Whichever you
The
want.
computer one's pretty cool.
Okay, this. Oh, we'll do the email computer. When this was, I was still in my undergrad. In college, I was going to Pitt Bradford and living in Bradford, and the guy I was dating at the time, we thought it would be fun to use a Ouija board, which I would not suggest using for other people, but I was young and yes. So anyways, we're sitting there with this Ouija board, and it was like kind of like guessing things that it shouldn't know, like I'm trying to think of, like, it could guess number sequences, things like that it shouldn't know. We'd ask for a phone number. It would give us the phone number of something, and we'd look it up, and that would be the number. It was weird things like that. What is that noise?
it's the dog.
Okay. I'm like, what am I doing? So anyways.
Conjuring spirits.
So my mom walks by the one time in the room, and I was raised in a Catholic family. My mom wasn't too thrilled we were using the Ouija board to begin with. She walks by, and the Ouija board, pardon my language, says "damn Catholic." So, as my mom's walking through the room.
Wait a minute.
So that was kind of interesting. But what was the creepiest part was we were talking to supposedly it was a German female who was with my boyfriend at the time in like a past life, and she thought that she was still with him. She was talking basically like they were still together, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It was probably like the next day or whatever, and I get an email, and it's all in German, and it's from a German woman talking about my boyfriend at the time, about how, like, she's been with him and they have kids and all of this information. So I emailed,
Like you're the other woman.
yes.
Yeah.
So I emailed it back and I said, look, like, I understand, like, but you are no longer living, and this.
So you knew it wasn't at the time right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to elaborate how you knew that it was not a real email?
Oh, it just that I don't really. It just came back. I had emailed it back, and I got like an error message
Yeah, the address doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That you received.
that
a
I
message
received
from.
an email from. But I emailed it back and said like, look, you are no longer living. Like I feel empathy for you, but you know you have to kind of move on. And then after that, never heard anything again from
Sometimes
it.
it's just simple. You just got to talk to them like people.
Yeah. Monk, you got.
Yeah, well, back, it's way too long ago because we're old. We were going down to Loudonville, Ohio. Me and you were there. We went to an acquaintance's, a friend's house. So we were staying the night there, and I was in the back room of this place, and kind of, I don't know, creepy place to begin with. I personally thought.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah,
uncomfortable,
yeah,
and you couldn't tell when you first went in if just the kind of situation, just the atmosphere from the people living there made it
Yeah.
uncomfortable, or if it was something else.
Yeah.
But apparently it was
just something else.
a little of both.
Yeah.
So anyways, so it got to time where we went to sleep. You were in another room. You went to sleep. Put all, I used to put like my wallet and stuff in my hat. So did you, and you left it in the room I was in. Later that night, kind of woke up. I heard somebody come into the room, and then they walk over to like where our hats were. A lot of stuff. I just thought it was you getting something because you were like rummaging kind of through our hats, and I was like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" type thing, and it was just a dark shadow like your height. All of a sudden, it turned around and came at me. It's freaking scary. So I started swinging at it like crazy. Like,
Can we reenact this gesture?
Yeah,
I was all like, "Yeah,
yeah,
no!"
yeah. What I heard from the other room is the person we were staying with, like, I woke up and was being weird right before, and then I hear Justin start yelling something like "Get the hell away from me" or something. And so I come out, and the person we were staying with comes out, but goes the opposite direction of where Monkey's yelling.
was yelling. Yeah.
So I go into the room where Monkey is, and Monkey's standing on the bed, just eyes closed, just swinging. So I was like, hey, man, and you were like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Don't you freaking turn that light on.
Yeah,
I was
you?
and I was like, what the hell? So I turned on the light and looked,
That
and
is
you're
like-
like, yeah.
It's like I felt like first time I felt like threatened. Like I mean, I don't know if it was gonna do anything to me, but it felt like it was just the way it turned all of a sudden just came at me. Like it was
aggressive.
Yeah, it was too aggressive for my liking.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And it turns out, like, unbeknownst to us, the mother of the person we had come to visit would be in the room on the other side where she had ran to, because the mother would often wake up yelling and feel like somebody was choking her. So the kid who was living there was so used to when she hears screaming in the middle of the night, going to check on the mom. And it was like, that would have been useful information before you have people come visit.
Yeah.
Like, you got something that chokes people in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
You should probably let company know.
Yeah.
It's just a courtesy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know you kind of hinted at it, but you said this other person did something weird before he screamed. Could you just tell us what that was? Because that was pretty creepy too.
Oh, like she sat up in her sleep and was like, I don't know, just blank-eyed, just staring. And I was like,
that's not normal.
His thing happened.
yeah, just a few seconds before.
So most likely that thing came to visit her first. Some kind of seems
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
and then went to his room.
Yeah, and it sounds like it was confused at, like, wait a minute.
Who's this guy?
People in my room.
Yeah.
Or he just didn't realize Monkey was there until he said
Well,
something.
I think
He's like,
that's why it went over and was looking at our stuff.
Yeah. Like it was just
new
seeing
stuff.
Like,
like
it was
like
new
what we
stuff,
used
and it
to
was
see.
like
Yeah.
with directly over to where.
Saw your stuff too. Probably didn't
Yeah, 'cause
realize
we
he
were
was
all
on
right
the
next
bed
to
until
each
he said
other,
something.
so-
Yeah.
And that's why he's
Yeah.
like, look back.
So
at it
we
real quick.
spent the rest of that weekend sleeping together in a twin bed.
Yeah.
Mikey and I, because hey, we were young too,
Yeah.
like 18, 19, and Mikey was like, "Yeah, we should go home." And I was like, it's a 4-hour drive, so we just stayed in the same room.
Did not sleep much that whole
No.
week.
Yeah,
I was up almost the whole time. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Well, it was like, because right before that, I think it was early that night. That's when we were gonna go visit that one site.
A cemetery.
Yeah,
or
a
something,
cemetery, which we were walking through like this old cornfield, like right by the place, and all of a sudden you could just hear stuff running like all through
Right? It
the
starts running through the corn.
cornfield.
What?
On
So
something
you know
big.
that's a
Something
specific
big
that
size.
Yeah, so we didn't even
you know.
make it there because right there we turned around and we were
Yeah,
like,
we
let's
were
go back.
It's supposed to be a haunted cemetery, like a mile or so.
Yeah.
So
One
we were
told me
just gonna-
about Children of the Corn.
Yeah, gonna walk, and we're walking by the court. You know how Loudonville area is. Cornfields all over,
Right.
and something big,
Yeah.
like good size, just running like through like on either side,
Yeah,
and,
just
like the
back and
path we're
forth,
on,
yeah,
back
yeah.
and forth. And we were
Oh,
like,
that's unnerving.
That'd be.
you know what? Let's just go back. Let's just
Yeah.
go back. You know what?
I
It's
forgot
late.
some in the car.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I'm not scared, but let's go back.
I'm not. No, you know.
But,
They're probably worried about us.
yeah.
Gotta
Yeah,
eat.
you got one, Lise.
Kinda. I remember I was sick one time, and this was when I was living in Canada. And I was sleeping on the couch downstairs in the front living room, and I was awoken to, I don't know, like a soft comforting, something. It's hard to explain, but at the end of the couch, I could see and feel like somebody was sitting there. Couldn't see them,
Just
but
had
I
that
could
kinda
see
feeling
I could
that-
see the indent of somebody sitting there, and I could feel like the warmth of this person's hand touch my leg.
But like
And it was I mean, I wasn't scared or anything. And the only thing that I could remember my mom saying was maybe that it was my grandma Jonathan, coming to visit, because every time we were sick, she would make us hot toddies
Aw,
to give
yeah,
us and stuff. And so,
it's an old.
Old days, they would do
just
that.
she would just come and visit, I guess, just to make sure that I was fine.
I got a story about your other grandma, actually, but not one of my own. I think it's actually Cody, your brother, Shane's oldest. I don't know if you remember. I think you might have been asleep, but we were all
fair.
at the fair.
Yeah.
We used to set up at the Erie County Fair in Hamburg, New York, and you'd stay there during the 10 days of the fair, and all the kids, the
Grandkids.
great grandkids for Edith.
Oh yeah.
And she had passed away like the year or two before.
The year before.
The year, okay.
Yeah.
And all the, your guys' kids were sleeping in the booth, in
Yep.
our parents' booth. And Cody said he woke up, in the middle of the night and
Well, actually, Dakota and them were in Fan and Edith's booth.
oh,
The
were
grandmother's
they?
booth.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Cody said he woke up and looked and standing on the other side of the booth, just watching you guys, kind of smiling, was Edith.
Really?
Yeah, and he at first, half asleep,
Yeah.
he didn't even think at first oh she's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He was
thought
just
she
like
checking on him.
yeah, and so he just went back
That's
to
nice.
sleep.
She was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a sweet person.
Let's see, you got one, Shaney?
Well, there's
say-
a lot of stories that's happened over.
Oh,
the
you
years.
guys want to do
The
your
Maple Street one,
Yeah.
real quick. We can talk about that.
Okay.
Or Green Street, excuse me. So Green Street is a house we moved in after Maple Street, and by the start of this, I think it was maybe 9th or 10th grade when it first started.
15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, and one day I was coming home, I think it was from track practice, and I noticed my bed was I had my bed in the corner of my room against the wall, so that's right beside the window. somehow the bed, when I came home, it was pulled out, like it was like turned at an angle. Like just the bottom of the bed was just pulled out to the side, which I thought was a little odd. I was like, well, maybe, someone was looking through my room for something or whatever. I don't know.
One of your siblings.
Yeah. Well, I push it back, next day or two comes by, it's the same way. I come home, I'm like, why is it pulled out like that, Third time, I came home, and just the mattress was flipped all the way up, and like it was leaning against the wall. And I was like, okay,
nobody else was in the house. At the
no,
time.
yeah, you guys were at work, we were at school, and you worked late. You were at, I think it was like till like 5 o'clock at the time or something. I was walking home by that time, just from school. So probably fast forward maybe a month, maybe. I was sleeping in the same bed, same spot, and am I fast forwarding, or is it because I'm with the blanket part? Was that first? I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
Now the blanket part, we did have several instances with the mattress, and
Yeah.
one time we all went to some kind of, basketball or football or wrestling, something kind of tournament, and we came home and the box springs and the mattress both were up on the wall.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They were
That
like
was-
this when we left, came back with
And
the entire
we
family.
were all
and it
out
was
of
like
town.
this.
Yeah.
For the audio, he's gesturing. They were on the bed like regular. They come home. They're standing up on their side, leaned against the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fast forward a while, probably about a month or so. I'm sitting there trying to sleep, and like, what I initially felt like someone was like, say like your parents when your kid wrap you up in a burrito type of thing, kind of felt like that, but someone was like tightening the blankets, like pushing them down around my side, but not tucking them, just pushing them. And I was like, maybe I'm just laying on it wrong. Maybe I can't, sometimes you can't quit the blanket.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, like, it almost felt like a dream until I got up to tell my father what it was and realized it wasn't actually a dream.
Yeah.
Somehow, my blanket got, like, thrown off of me and was, like, so hard that when it hit the wall, it kind of just fell to the ground and just kind of fell.
Almost like it was like held up
Yeah,
and dropped.
it just
straight.
dropped.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing.
Right, 7 feet from the bed, by the way.
Keep in mind, our rooms were catty-cornered to each other, so I was a foot and a half away from your room. So I get up to tell him, and obviously he sees the blanket there, which was odd. Just not much, we could really do about it. That was the only thing about that particular thing that happened.
I should note there too, several other times when I would go in late, when I go to bed, I would check all the kids. Many times that blanket was on the other side of the wall. He just wasn't aware of it because he was asleep, and I'd pick it up and I'd put it back on.
Keep in mind, I slept like a freaking rock. They ain't no waking me up when I was that age.
Yeah, you also saw stuff going on in that room.
Well,
too,
he had
correct?
other incidences.
That's
He
what I
had,
was, yeah.
lights that would flip on and off without, and it wasn't just the light bulb flickering. The actual switch would flip. You could hear it, you could see it. I thought, kids have, active imaginations. You kind of, you can't just assume everything's paranormal. But I should also note at this time, we were still doing our way of cleaning the house. This did not, for some reason, take care of this. The dog,
Cleaning the house
Spiritually.
spiritually.
our dog would not go upstairs. Every night she'd sleep right in front of our bedroom door. Every single night. She's a very loyal dog. When this stuff started happening, you couldn't make that dog go upstairs. She spent a whole 2 months without ever going upstairs. She'd get scared. You try to pick her up, she would wet herself. That's how scared she would be, and she'd fight you.
Let me pause you because there was a part before that happened. So back to where the blanket thing was kind of tugging on me. This was when I remember that time when I actually came into your room and slept on your floor because it, something in, I think they call it like sleep paralysis or whatever. But whatever this was not what they call sleep paralysis. It was weird.
Not to mention, you already had several things that led up to this already.
Yeah. Whatever this was, so the same thing, but it was holding my blanket down and I couldn't move at all. And it was at to the point to where, like, I couldn't even blink my eyes. I literally couldn't move them. Like, I was just sitting here, like, like I'm in a coma, and I'm awake. I can see everything, and I'm sitting there. The thing's feeling tighter and tighter, and then all of a sudden I feel this massive pressure, like someone's sitting on my chest. And keep in mind, I was $110 at the time. I was tiny, and it felt like it's literally suffocating. I couldn't breathe. I'm gasping for air. You know, something was heavy and was holding me down in every way possible. For whatever reason, I was able to blink, and the second I did, like everything just broke free, and I was able to move again. I was freaking out. I was hyperventilating. I was like, I ran in my dad's room. I was like, Dad, blah 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 just happened to me, and you know, he's like, okay, you calm down, whatever, just sleep right here. And I was like, I had him go get my pillow and stuff out of my room, and you know, but yeah. And then go ahead to your.
And then one night, since that started happening, I left my door open and his partially open, and his door was like this, ours was like this.
Slightly
Can't see that on the audio, but a 90-degree angle from his door, or 45-degree angle. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed watching television in the dark, and his light turns on. I'm thinking maybe he's going to go to the restroom. He doesn't come out. So I look in there, and he's sound asleep. I'm thinking, well, maybe he got up, turned it on, then went back to bed. So I turn it back off. A few seconds later, after I sat back down in my room, it flicks on, and I heard the light switch, like somebody, you know, did a...
It was an old light switch, one of those hard flicking
Yeah,
ones,
it was
too.
a hard switch. I jumped back in there, because I'm like literally 4 feet away from his door, and he's still in the exact same position. So now I'm getting wise, and I go back in there, just in case. I'm ready to jump at that door to see if it's just him. So it flicks back on. I'm there in a fraction of a second. He's still in the same place. So I said, turned it off. I said, knock it off. Go back, sit down. The light switch goes several times until I growled at it and said something.
Yeah.
And then it stopped and didn't have another issue that night.
He angry dadded it,
Yeah.
in it, you know.
Good
But
one.
yeah, it was then the Hope one where he saw Hope, and then
Yeah, we'll get to that one in a second because that's a separate. You got another one, Monk.
tell the Dustin. Were you
Oh,
there
the
for the
Bob
Dustin
story
Dad
and
one
the-
with the pots?
Well, yeah, he's got a couple.
Yeah.
There's a couple. I mean, you can do like what was the Penn Ave house, the house you used to live in, where you hear the voices coming from the kitchen. The second story, you know, they had the bathroom with a vent that went. You could see down to the kitchen, and I know it happened to a few of us. You'd be sitting up there, you know, doing your business as you would, and like for me, I'd always hear your mom, you know, call her. She'd be like, "Monkey," and I was like, you know, "Hello."
Yeah.
Like you call down the vent, and there'd be no one down there ever. You know, they'd be in their room, which is on the complete opposite side of the house.
Which was a really odd place for a vent to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, it's an old house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No central like duct work. Like,
No,
Yeah.
you had a wood heater, so you had vents that would allow the heat
Yeah.
to rise. That happened to me at that same house.
Yeah.
Same
Yep.
thing. I was on the toilet. Mom wasn't home at the time. I thought, well, maybe she got home while I was doing my business. And she goes, "Shane." I'm like, you know, I didn't answer at first because I hate being bothered when I'm in the bathroom. And she goes, "Shane," you know. And I'm like, "What?" I'm on the, you know, I'm in the restroom. And she goes, "Shane." I'm like, "I'm going to the bathroom. Please leave me alone." And then I come out. I'm looking for her, and she's not in the house. I'm like, "Oh." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that also happened to me a lot. Not just in the bathroom, but you'd hear her through the bathroom vent
Oh
in
yeah,
my
yeah,
bedroom
yeah.
call it, you know, Lance, like very insistent.
Because that bathroom
Yeah.
abutted your
Yeah,
bedroom.
and definitely mom's voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And she'd be at work.
Oh.
And the other people, I talked to the people who lived there before us, whose mom sounds not much at all like our mom. You know, has a much higher, like, pitched voice. And they would hear their mom calling them
same
from
thing?
the kitchen by name.
Do we have
all the
another
time.
mimic type of thing going on? Like
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that
There was
would
a
be-
lot of stuff in
a
that
different
house.
type of mimic.
But
But
that basement was creepy in there too.
Oh,
so,
man,
I
that
mean,
basement
and that was
was-
right next to the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen, like the basement access was from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kitchen, and yeah, the basement had something that hung out down there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
very large, multi-room basement.
Yeah.
It was,
cool
I mean,
basement.
it was
like
cool, but it was creepy.
I'd like to do a
And-
hunt on pin.
Oh,
Right,
that
that'd
would
be
be
sweet.
awesome.
That'd be nice. It'd be like,
Hey,
you're back.
dude.
Right, like, hey, what's up?
You got another one,
You're back and
Christine?
you aged.
This is one that I actually didn't tell anyone till recently. I think I told you for the first time maybe a couple months ago because it sounds just so wild. But then after I told, well, let me tell it first and then Lance can give a little bit of the background. But it was one time I was in the car. I was driving on a back road. It was late at night and it was dark. And I'm just driving down it and all of a sudden I saw this gigantic head in the road. Like this big head. And I slammed on the brakes thinking I was going to hit this thing. Luckily, I didn't veer off the road and run into any trees or anything, but it shook me up a little bit because you don't generally see a gigantic
like a
floating head
4 foot
without a body
wide head.
attached to it in the road. So,
Really? That's odd.
but I never told anyone that because I just thought it was kind of like
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, it
It
sounds,
sounds-
yeah.
I'll tell you, that's not uncommon. I've heard other stories that were similar. And there's some kind of,
Well,
I gotta
that's
look
what.
that up. I can't remember.
When she told me,
There's
because she's driving the back road she's talking about is going from Erie to Bradford.
Right.
So she's cutting through Steenburg.
Ah.
And there's a very old legend from that area about a native legend about a giant flying head that
Really?
would
I've actually
torment.
Heard that story before.
Yeah, there was a whole village. I
and you
do
told her
believe.
this after.
Yeah,
after I told
yeah,
him
she
this.
had never heard it because she was like, "Listen,
I
like
never
this is
told
this
anyone it.
this sounds
Really?
crazy,"
Yeah.
but I was like, that legend comes from that area, and of this
Right
giant
there.
flying like head that would torment people that, and eventually if I recall correctly, like a whole village was just abandoned because this thing would just kept swooping and would torment people.
Really?
Yep. And she's driving exactly through that area.
Steenberg, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
crazy.
you just saw the illuminated head illuminated by my headlights, but it was just this floating head in the
Should
middle of the
mention that
road.
it's part of a
What did
res.
it look like? The head.
I can't 100%. It was like a little bit like darker skin, blackish hair. It was short. That's all I can really remember.
That's cool. I
Or-
gotta look to see if I can find any more.
Because
stories
after I
about it.
slammed
That's a
on the
good story.
brakes,
Yeah.
disappeared like immediately.
Was the face? I mean, because
It was
like
a
you're
very
also
like
driving.
plain stoic. It was just kind of like
Was it
a
like
very intense
just
looking like.
Formed at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It was just very large.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of those that happen in the middle of the road. That they're trying to cause accidents or
Mhm.
something, but that could even have been some kind of a message too. You
It
never
could
know.
be, but in the legend about it,
Yeah.
it's a
A negative.
a
Thing.
negative thing. Yeah, that wouldn't if it could cause a car accident,
Yeah.
it'd like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You got something else you'd like to share, Elise?
Well, it involves my brother. And I told Shane about it. To this day, my brother will not.
I won't say it.
He will not talk about it. If I mention it, he's like, "Nope, I don't want to hear it."
Never have it.
It scared him. It scarred him for the rest of his life. But we
She's
were.
like, so she's gonna share it with all of you.
I am. I was in high school. I think I was probably like 16, and he's 6 years younger than I am, so he's like 10. We hop on our bikes and we're going fishing. And again, this is a Canadian story.
That's a good one.
So we're driving down to the quarry on our bikes, and at one point the quarry, they had it all set up with go-karts, horseback riding trails. There was like a mock longhouse, a native longhouse, and so we stopped and he wanted to go in, and I was just like, well, we shouldn't, let's just go fishing. And he gets off his bike and he goes in, and I was like, oh crap. can't let my brother go in there by himself, so I go in there, and it's all messed up. Kids have been partying in there, you know, trash everywhere. So I'm just like, all right, let's go fishing. So we're fishing, and we're up on top of this quarry, and there's like feet down, feet after feet after feet. And we could hear what sounds like a lady that's screaming murderously, like, you know, something's happening to her. And my brother was like, we should get going. You know, what is that? I'm like, I don't know what it is. So we just like, oh, one more cast, whatever. It gets closer. The screaming sound comes closer and closer to us. And we're just at this time, we're like, okay, we got on our bikes. We left. Our fishing poles stayed there. Our tackle boxes stayed there. We get on our bikes and we're like pedaling as fast as we can. And the sound follows us. It's following us. We could hear it in the bushes down, like we're pedaling as fast as we can down this road, and it's dark outside. And the road that we're on, there's no streetlights.
As a kid, that'd be terrifying.
Now, as a good big sister, you of course waited for your brother, right?
Well, he would say I didn't, but
That's the version I heard.
I'm sure I did.
I heard
She
too.
pedaled a little.
That's the version I heard from her.
I mean,
She's like, later, JR.
It's like, I just need to be faster than you.
right? But you know, he wants to stop because he wants to take a break. His little legs are tired, and I'm just like, no, we need to go home. We're pedaling. He's crying, and I'm looking back and can't see anything, but you could hear this, what sounds like a little old lady screaming like she's being murdered.
Following you down the road. That's creepy.
Yeah,
How far is this?
it was probably a 2-mile bike ride.
So that
Just
entire
on that
ride,
one
you're
road.
hearing it.
Yeah, just on the one road. It was probably like a half a mile from the quarry to that road. We got to go down to our street, and then I don't know, like several houses down. But the whole entire time, we could hear what sounds like a little lady just screaming. We couldn't see it, just hear it. We get off our bikes, and we were going so fast. We jumped off our bikes, and our bikes kept going. We get in the house and slam the door, lock it, and like I said, every time I tried to bring it up with my brother and be like, "Hey, remember that time?"
No.
Yeah, that'd be pretty terrifying.
We don't know to this day what it was. I have no clue.
One of
I
those
don't
old,
know.
like screaming hag stories.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I liked it.
Yeah, we might skip the questions for this one because we got a
We've got
couple
more
more
stories,
pretty
yeah.
good ones that we can fit in. We don't have too much longer, but I kind of like to talk about how in high school, Monkey and I were at our friend's house,
Oh
and
yeah.
we had walked there from my house because it was just a couple blocks, and we cut through our friend's backyard. Nothing abnormal.
Yeah.
Just his regular plain old backyard. Went in the house and played video games or something.
Yep.
You know, it was the late 90s, so like
Yeah.
Nintendo 64
Yep.
era. And
Best time.
yeah, got pretty late, and we decided to walk back home. And we go back out of our friend's house, and his dad wasn't like a hunter or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
like that.
just-
It's not hunting season anyway.
Yeah,
It was
middle
warm
of-
out.
yeah, summer.
Summertime. And we walk out and are cutting through his backyard and kicked something soft,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
squishy feeling. And so we look down, and there is now in his backyard what appears it's dark. There's no street lights back there, but looks like in the dark like a deer head,
Yeah, just like a rotted.
like a rotted
Yeah,
deer
deer
head
head.
laying in the middle of the backyard. So we were like, okay, that's weird, you know. But it's the res.
That's not supposed to
Yeah.
be there.
It's the res, so you never know when somebody's gonna
Right.
be driving by and throw a deer head out the window. Like, let's be honest, that could happen, you know.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, that wasn't there before, but you know, stuff happens
Yeah.
sometimes. So we keep walking towards Penn Avenue,
Yeah.
and we get to this little section where there's these woods.
Yeah, it's just a little patch.
Just
too,
a
like next
small
to like a
patch, yeah.
factory
Yeah.
place almost. Yeah.
And as we go by, we hear in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not real woods. It's a patch of trees.
Yeah.
So we like stop and look, and the sound stops, And we were like, so we take a couple steps and it goes. We take it's pacing us.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like 15, 16, and I don't even remember who, I think it might have been Monkey, like looks, and he's like, I'm gonna run.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
It's time to
Just
run.
booked him back to the
Yeah, I remember looking like, it's time to run now. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah. Same kid. Just, I guess, was moving his dad into a new house. We were sitting there talking. A weird house, like, had weird things all through it, like paintings on the, like, somebody,
Pentagrams.
like,
painted on the
pentagrams.
wall.
Really?
The weirdest to me, and like we talked about actually, like trying to find out who lived there before and contacting somebody because this kid needed help because there was like a cardboard cutout in the basement. You remember that?
Yeah.
Of a man shape with the crotch stabbed over and over and over again.
That sounds like
We were like, yeah, that sounds like
like
abuse.
one of the closets was like had like My Dark Place or something like wrote like scratched in the
into
wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. That kid had a
something dark,
traumatic
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Go.
So yeah, we were sitting there and we were talking about it, and we were in the kitchen. We were telling our buddy about it. We're like, man, this place is weird. Like, I wasn't really thrilled about being there, and we're like, not gonna lie, probably not gonna ever come back here.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, all of a sudden, like next to us, because like I said, we were moving them in. There's like some pots and pans on the counter. All of a sudden, it's just like a pan gets knocked across the room, just out of nowhere. So we're like looking at each other, like, holy crap!
Yeah, like a big stock pot,
And
like somebody slapped the crap out of it off the counter.
So
like,
our buddy's like, no, it just fell. It just fell. And we're like, it definitely did not just fall. So he's like, no, he puts it back up there and tries to like recreate it, and obviously it's just falling to the floor, not going halfway across the room. He looks at us and he's like, don't tell my dad.
Yeah,
that's just his biggest concern. Is like not telling his dad.
We're like, that's
okay.
on you, I guess.
Yeah, I think we left shortly after that, and I never went back there.
Yeah, he's not telling his dad. He's dealing with that himself. That's harsh.
Yeah.
This is taking a while, but we have so many.
Dude, we're gonna
multiple episodes.
We'll have to do.
Yeah, we're already at about our time mark here. Yeah, we'll have to do a Ghost Stories Part 2 because I think that went pretty well too.
It did, and like I said, we still got
Time flew and
lots of
Tons of
stories.
stories. Tons of stories.
got maybe a quarter of the ones
Experiences
done
and,
now.
Yeah, we're.
Do we have time to ask even like one or
We
two
could
questions?
probably do one or two. Let's do, since we were talking about this, we had somebody asked us, what do you think causes a ghost?
Just a ghost?
As in, what differentiates, like, why is it that this entity has stayed here instead of moving on, I think, is the idea.
Well, I guess it kind of depends on the scenario. Like,
Yeah.
if it's, say, like, it's an ancestor or somebody that, or, an ancestor that just wants to stay around.
So one of your options would be just, something that wants to, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
You got another
I mean, I
theory?
kind of go with what Hunter just said.
Yeah. I also think it could be, in a lot of the cases, traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Traumatic death.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Or it could just be a really protective parent that still wants to stay around, watch for their kids. They really love the home. Then maybe they build it themselves. There's lots of different reasons why.
And that's how you get the different kinds of hauntings, too. Like some of our stories. Like, we had relatives who would come and, they're there because they want to be there and they intend to be there. And then you have other things like Chrissy's story of the German woman didn't realize that she was a ghost.
Yeah, a lot of times
She's
when
still
they're
living
dead,
in
they
this
don't even
other
know they're
era.
dead. Yeah.
So that would probably come from something traumatic happened to her, or she died suddenly and hasn't
didn't realize it,
reconciled.
Yeah,
that.
and a lot of people, according to their beliefs, if they feel like suicide, it could be a sin according to their religion, right? So they don't necessarily go to light. They're looking right.
They choose not to because they're afraid. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Yeah, we'll have to get to. We'll save these other questions for another time. Well, let's do this one real quick. We'll just go around, just yes, no. I think we'll have the same answer. So let's start with Shane. Shane, do you believe a ghost can follow a person home?
I know they can.
Monk,
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
often.
All the time.
Chris.
100% yes.
Yes, and that's why we always take precautions when we are getting ready to go out to a place. We take precautions in whatever denomination or religious belief that any member of ours has, and make sure we're okay. And with all of our stories, though, apparently we all have lived in haunted houses. To us, if it's not a negative entity, it's not something that we're worried about.
It's just another person.
It's just like
Even if they're grouchy,
Yeah.
as long as we make out the guidelines and we follow, we're all right.
yeah. But so if you do go ghost hunting, no matter what your beliefs are, protect yourself in your way as best you can. And I think we'll finish up there.
Well,
Right?
Check out our social media. Oh,
Along with that, make sure if you have any questions, put them down in the comments, or
your own experiences.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're
Any of
listening
our
to this,
media
what they write it on.
platforms.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
send it to us. Yeah.
check out our website. It's
Email us to
spirithunters.group. We got all of our social media on there. Feel free to contact us. Questions, comments, gripes, concerns.
Our first name, .spirithunters@gmail. Monkeys is actually Justin.spirithunters at
Gmail. Yeah. So you can email us if you have questions, but leave them in the comments, and we'll feature them on a future episode. Look for us on all of the social media platforms. It's really helpful if you guys like the video, if you leave comments, if you subscribe, or if you share it. It really helps the
Visibility.
The algorithm.
yeah.
Gets our names out there.
Yeah.
Gets other people, maybe who have other questions. Maybe somebody needs help.
Yeah. So until next time.
I was just going to say happy hauntings.
happy hauntings. That's a good one. All right. Thank you.